everyone, I'm Erica, and I'm on the Developer Operations team here at Facebook. This presentation will help you better navigate the app review process and obtain access to the permissions you need. First, I'll be covering the basics, such as what the overall process and timeline looks like for an app review submission. Next, I'll be jumping into some common points of confusion, including top rejections and how to avoid them. Lastly, I'm excited to give you all a sneak peek at a new Messenger support channel that's designed to assist developers who've been rejected in app review and will be launched in May of this year. In order to clarify some common points of confusion with app review, I'd like to start by giving an overview of the process as a whole. Let's discuss the permission approval process from the time you submit for app review to the time that your app goes live. First, let's discuss the difference between app review and business and individual verification. It's a common misconception that app review and business verification are two phases of the same process. In fact, app review is simply the verification of the functional abilities or requests for information, while business and individual verification are the processes by which Facebook verifies the entity beside an app. Let's break down the app review process in more detail to ensure you understand what Facebook requires in order to approve a permission request. First, we need information on how you hope to use a permission in order to help us evaluate whether your request is valid. For example, if you hope to access the Pages messaging permission, this is where we give you the chance to supply our reviewers with example commands that we can use to test your Messenger experience. Screencasts or video recordings of your app's web or mobile experience assist our reviewers in understanding how to manually test your app's permission usage by providing insight on how to reproduce functionality. They also help to solidify our understanding of how your app works. Last but not least, your integration must be functional when you submit for review in order to allow our reviewers to test and verify your request. To recap, the most important thing that we need from you in review is a clear explanation of how you hope to use the permissions you're requesting. Note that for many permissions, our reviewers also need to see how you hope to use the requested permissions firsthand. For example, for the Publish Pages permission, which allows an app to programmatically post onto a Facebook page, our reviewers need to see a real post that was published by your app in order to verify and approve your request. Now, let's briefly discuss the app verification phase. As previously mentioned, the business or individual verification processes allow Facebook to verify the individual or business associated with an app. If verification is required, you'll receive a message in the Alerts tab of the app dashboard. This message will guide you through the necessary steps in order to become verified. Once you've passed app review and business verification, you'll be asked to sign our Facebook developer terms and also to sign a tech provider agreement. Note that you can always confirm which stage of the process you're currently in by checking the App Review Current Request tab of your app dashboard, shown here. Now, you should have a good understanding of the overall process of submitting for review. Before I discuss our new Messenger support channel, I'd love to take this opportunity to address common rejections and how to avoid them, because I'm willing to bet that most of you would prefer to not need to reach out for support in the first place if possible. The first example permission I'd like to cover today is Pages messaging. This permission allows for the access of page conversations in Messenger. With approval, a Messenger experience can send automated responses to user-initiated conversations. Examples of approvable uses of this permission include confirming bookings, purchases, and orders, as well as sending customer support messages. Let's discuss the most common rejections associated with Pages messaging. A majority of submission requests for this permission are rejected for one of the following three reasons: no first response while testing, broken features while testing, or unclear usage. A large percentage of top rejections are caused by a Messenger experience not responding when our reviewers give an example command while testing. Note that for automated experiences, a user should never have to wait more than 30 seconds for a response. Another important note is that your Messenger experience's core functionality should be working when you submit for review, and you cannot expect review approval for an experience that's in the process of being developed. A broken experience can be anything from a link that doesn't lead anywhere to placeholder content or blank messages where relevant content is expected. Finally, it's vital that users are able to understand how your Messenger experience is meant to be used. You can leverage the Messenger platform's Get Started button to clearly set expectations and set the scope of your experience. Let's cover how to avoid Pages messaging response rejections for both live and automated messaging experiences. For live experiences, please make sure to turn on Pages messaging in the general settings of your page. This will allow our reviewers to avoid receiving error messages when they try to interact with your chat experience. If a reviewer tries to communicate with your page and receives an error message, then this will result in a rejection. For automated experiences, ensure that your chat flow is compliant with our policies by responding to all commands, even those that are sent in another language or those that aren't cohesive with your chat experience. If your experience receives a random command such as one of these, it should respond with either a common response redirecting the user to the list of commands the experience will respond to, or an error message of some sort explaining to the user that the commands weren't understood. Lastly, be sure to search for the pre-launch checklist in our Facebook developer docs. This resource will help you to avoid rejections for Messenger platform review submissions by ensuring you've taken all necessary steps to become approved. For my next example permission, I'd like to talk about Page Public Content Access. This feature allows you to access public data on Facebook pages, such as comments, posts, and reviews. The proper use of this feature has caused some confusion for our developers, and they sometimes request it when they don't actually require it. These types of requests will result in rejections. The valid uses of this feature include providing anonymized public content for competitive benchmarking purposes, such as comparing your page interactions to those of your competitors, and also to provide the ability to search for public pages on Facebook. Now, let's go over some common misconceptions associated with Page Public Content Access. The first point of confusion I'd like to address is the difference between Page Public Content Access and Managed Pages. This feature is a feature which is used to access public page data. In other words, data from pages that aren't owned by someone who logs into an app with Facebook. On the other hand, Managed Pages is meant to be used in a way where admins of a page log in and then gain access to data from pages they own, in addition to gaining the ability to access other permissions, such as published pages and leads retrieval to perform actions related to their pages. Second, it's important to note that businesses and individual developers cannot receive the same level of data from the Facebook Pages API. Note that if you're an individually verified developer, that you will not be able to access Page Public Content Access. If you're approved for Managed Pages instead, note that end users will only be able to access up to 3 pages using your app. The third point I'd like to make is around the Page Mentions feature. Please note that Page Mentions does not require Page Public Content Access. Developers often think that this feature is required in order to obtain a page ID, when actually the Page Mentions feature is sufficient for this information. I'd like to take this opportunity to provide you all with additional background information on App Review. This will help to better explain the scope of support that our new Messenger experience will be addressing. As you may know, the primary function of Review is to protect users of the Facebook platform and to ensure high-quality experiences. Unfortunately, in the process of trying to keep users safe, we found that we were unintentionally adding a lot of friction and creating poor experiences for developers. We received feedback that the review process was confusing at times, and we knew we had to do something about this while still maintaining the integrity of the platform. One of the most frequent developer requests was for better app review support. We took this feedback and we built something great using the Messenger platform. Now that you have a good understanding of the overall app review process and how to avoid common rejections, I'd love to take this opportunity to introduce the new chat support channel that we're launching to our developers who are rejected in app review. In order to access this new Messenger support channel, all you have to do is navigate to the App Review tab of your app dashboard, where you can find results from your recent review. If you are rejected and you don't understand your review results, you can connect with our support experience directly from this screen via a Messenger plugin. Let's assume that you're confused as to why your review submission for Page Public Content Access was rejected. Here, you can see an example of how you could interact with our support experience to address this issue and learn next steps. Great, let's assume that you now understand why you were rejected, but you still have some confusion around the business verification process. The next steps in our demo display the support channel's method of providing you with easy to follow steps that you can follow in order to request verification. If the support experience is unable to answer your questions at any time, you can choose to speak with a live agent. Now, let's cover why we opted to use Messenger for the new chat support channel that we knew we needed. Firstly, Messenger already had many of the components that we required for a rich experience, such as a Get Started button to clearly set user expectations, message templates, and web views, so that developers didn't need to jump around between windows if we sent them Help Center articles. In addition to this, one of the more obvious benefits of using Messenger is its reach. Over 20 billion messages are sent per month between businesses and their customers, and we knew that we'd be able to reach our developers on Messenger. We also knew that experience and discovery on Messenger would be seamless across platforms and devices. On the developer operations team, we believe that service is the differentiator in building community and bringing the world closer together. I hope that this session helped to clarify the app review process, and that if you do require support, you find our new support experience useful. If you have any further questions about app review, please be sure to stop by the Developer Journey booth in the Developer Resources section of the festival. Again, I'm Erica, and thank you so much for listening today. Please be sure to take the survey in the F8 mobile app in order to share feedback on this session.